I mean, it looks like if you're not along the water lake, you're in trouble.
So I have a history with Ghana water.
Okay.
I've lived at Kpandu, Toji, the water, Ghana water quarters. And then in Kwebe as well, the Kwebe headworks. So I have a...
so you're a Ghana water boy?
Exactly, Ghana water boy. Okay. So I understand where he's coming from. You know, like growing up again, within Kpandu, Kwebe and the rest, treating water was quite an easy thing because you don't have the menace of Galamsey on that water course. It's unfortunate that we find ourselves today where you would expect that people would take greed away from their own livelihood, in the sense that you are going to drink water. Yeah. Look, growing up, you notice that the birim, the pra, the ankobra, the offin, you just fetch it, go home and drink. We bath, we do everything with these water bodies. You don't add anything. I remember the only time that we got so involved in treating water many years ago, in the early 1990s, was when Guinea worm infestation. So from Bonache right to Nkwanta and all those environs, you needed to boil it because the reasoning then was that the boiling killed the Guinea worm, the eggs and others exactly, and so that it would not increase the infestation. Today, that situation is completely different. What I do know is that President John Dramani Mahamad's outlook on the fight against Galamsey remains a top priority. In fact, this government considers the Galamsey Menace as a clear present danger. In fact, environmental terrorism that we have never seen in many years. And I've always maintained that, you see, the issue of Galamsey is not a complicated issue. Look,
it's not?
No. If the people who live by the water body say that we want to safeguard our water, how can a foreigner come and do otherwise?
As communities.
Simple logic. I grew up in places where I moved from the house to water body, fetch, get home. If I see you destroying the water that I can no longer fetch home, why should I tolerate you?
Where you live, there's gold beneath?
No, that's exactly where the point. That's why I'm using the word human greed. Greed, more greed. Why in God's name would a chief tolerate people to come to his community? You are quite an elderly person.
I'm old, actually.
No, not even I'm talking about dog. Growing up, you have Asafo companies. Those Asafo companies were enough to stop everybody from misusing our environment. If the community people are not involved, there is no way you can do Galamsey in those communities. There is no way the people in Ofin would agree that foreigners should come and destroy their source of drinking water. How is that possible? Look, I listened to my brother Parker Wilson on one of the media on Yoruba, and he tells the program that he decided to go and do an underground, investigation in one of the mining communities. He found out that the chief of the community was deeply involved. The catechist was deeply involved. The teacher in the community was deeply involved. The teacher had recruited young kids, and the kids will tell you, Akoyam Anyano. Gala. The painful aspect is that our communities are the ones encouraging. So if you look, government deploys soldiers. And I gave a classic example. if you look at the Ankobra, the total distance of the Ankobra to its source is 190 kilometers. If you want to stop the activities, you need either the water guards, NIMOS, to be on that water for 24 hours, 7 days in a week. You need to man it 170 kilometers. That's from here to more than in Sawam and beyond.
Wow.
Beyond. That's just the Ankobra. Then you come to the Birim, you come to Pra, and the major other rivers in this country. You need this number of human resources to be on it 24/7. The matters, meanwhile, there are people living in those communities. They are chiefs. Because you see, in this country, you cannot enter somebody's land without the person's permission. No. And looking at the way we fight for land, there have been tribal conflicts in this country because of land issues, land tenure issues. And so, I have always maintained that government can do anything and deploy all the sophistication if we don't involve the indigenes, the chiefs, the allodial owners of the respective lands. We will be doing the talk shop and we'll be here. Look, from January when President Mahama took over as the leader of this republic, look at the interventions that he had deployed. By now, our water level ought to have been restored to normalcy. Look, I've asked this question, Roland. Can you imagine for a minute how our water bodies will be looking today with over 400 shamfines on them now? Roland, I'm asking you. Because this government in the past 9 months had destroyed in excess of 400 shamfines. Imagine if those actions were not taken and those shamfines are on our water body. What will be the state of our water bodies? Imagine a situation where today, under the watch of President Mahama, we have not confiscated over 450 excavators. What will be the state of our forests and water bodies? Imagine over 1,000 water pumps, high water pumps, all on our water bodies today, but for government's intervention. So sometimes I always say, you need to appreciate the effort, where we are coming from, where we have gotten to, and where we desire to reach. Imagine for a minute the Ankobra, the Pra, the Birim, the Ofin, with over 400 shamfines on them day to day, 24 hours. What would have been the state of affairs today? These are verifiable interventions by the President Mahama administration. I have watched in disbelief the work that NIMOS is doing, destroying the various, camps created by these Galamseyers all over the troubled areas. In Ghana here, we know where the Galamsey activities are happening. In fact, only 2 regions currently have been found to be outside the reach of Galamseyers: Volta region and Greater Accra. With the exception of these 2 regions, all the rest, the 14 other regions, one way or the other, are having to grapple with these Galamseyers. And you think there are no community leaders in these communities? How in God's name can you go to a village, handled by a prominent chief, if the chief say, my Asafu group will not allow you to be on our land? So maybe we've gotten to the point where the engagement should not just be at government level. And you see, I have always maintained that, once you make it a government problem, the Galamseyers are happy. You know why? Because it diverts attention from the people who are giving them the concession. And the people giving them the concession are our chiefs. Roland, I want to believe that of all the efforts we put in this Galamsey fight. Until we get the prominent chiefs declaring their communities to be no-go area for Galamseyers. We'll also come back after 4 months. Look, this Galamsey conversation has been going on for the past 3 months continuously. The media has been on this. Possibly the media should be asking a critical question. How come that all these efforts by government is not achieving the desired impact? And I'll conclude on this. You see, the only thing that creates a problem is the debt that comes back to the river. Yes. So if we know the source of the debts, how come that we are not able, or the water bodies are not getting cleaner? Why? Because you see, by the time they will leave, another set will start. And like I pointed out, even for the Ankobra alone, 190 kilometers, you need to have 24-hour surveillance on 190 kilometer, of water body. The practical challenges, the logistics, the manpower, it is not a joke. So it is convenient to say, oh, President Mahama, and I'll conclude on this, declare a state of emergency.
Why not?
It's not convenient.
Just convenient for all of us.
But the results, if you declare a state of emergency, right, Prof, you are the professor, and you apply all these tricks, and the chiefs who live in the community still permit people to work under the cover of darkness, what will be the results? We'll come back to square one.
Everybody has to take responsibility.
We all need to be responsible. Do you know that you and I are in Accra, so pain and thinking about people in our various communities? They are not looking at it as a problem.
Yekogala.
And look, now, kids are no longer going to school. You know their reason? They make more money if they go to yam, grind the soil and all those things. Why have we gotten the greed?